We're not just speaking. We're not just educating. And this is not anything to do with ego. I see in others. I see it myself. And sometimes we can become out of balance if we're compulsive healers and we're running around trying to fix everything and, quote, save the world. No, first we start with ourselves. We get ourselves clear, and we put out an intent to become what we're actually able to become, what our potential, our true human potential is, which I think is one of the meanings of life.
Yeah.
Is to realize our human potential. But part of that is to help heal people with our words. So when we hear these podcasts from the past, from the grave, if you will,
we're coming to break.
it's like something's released.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have faith in our leaders. We should have had faith in ourselves all along. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You listen to the Vinny Eastwood Show with the man with the answers. It's Ansari. Answer me, Ansari. We were talking over the break about Afghanistan and Rambo 3, and I really liked Rambo 3. In fact, I recorded a number of quotes from it because it was like, you know what? It's very interesting. You saw these Russians torturing this American soldier that they caught, and the American soldiers telling them, "Do you have any idea how many people have tried to conquer this country? You know, you have any idea these people have suffered through it all. You can't defeat a people like that." And then later on, the Americans invade, and they still can't beat them.
It's totally insane because you have this popular. Okay, Rambo 3 did very well at the box office. Or if you want to look up the Wikipedia page, it may be seen as a flop now, but when that movie came out, because of what was taking place at that time, the Mujahideen, they were in the news on a regular basis. They were being supported by this government, and it wasn't the worst thing for this government to support that group because, in truth, they were being invaded by this other country, the Russians. Of course, they already infiltrated the Afghan government before that. Familiar theme, anyone? They already established communism in Afghanistan, in the capital of Kabul, where my father was born and raised, where my grandfather was born and raised, where my father comes from. In that city, they established communism. As soon as the rest of the country found out, they're like, no, I don't think so. We're not just going to become slaves of the Russians. We're going to have a war now. And, there was constant pressures between the reformists and the conservatives, those that had more of a Pakistani, let's call it that, understanding of Islam. Because this Taliban group that's been the excuse for the U.S. to be there all this time, they have been getting their money from Pakistan, the ISI, which we know has ties to the CIA. That's why it's been heartbreaking for people to not look into that. That mainstream Afghanistan does not support the Taliban, nor never did. You're dealing with a weak group of people that have been, for the most part, weakened through starvation, through war, through things people should already know about in the history books. All the Taliban were like the golden dawn of today's Greece. The fascists that came in and said, we understand your suffering. We understand there's been a lot of rape here. There's been a lot of women dishonored. A lot of your men are beaten up and they're dead. We got an idea. We'll take you back to the good old days. We'll have a republic. Everything will be cool. And you'll be safe. But we got to tell you, we got a dotted line here you got to sign. You can have an Islamic rule. And so some people signed on to that because the Civil War ceased somewhat, the battles between like Northern Alliance and other groups. But Rambo 3 has an interesting scene where he's coming upon this village that's being attacked by the Russians, and he gets behind a machine gun, and he's basically taking out these helicopters. It's an awesome battle scene. It's one of the best scenes in in Rambo 3, where you're rooting Stallone on, you're rooting Rambo on. He's defending the woman. He's defending the village from attack. He would be considered a terrorist today. He would be struck by a drone in seconds because he's basically helping the militants. And every day on NPR, they're telling people in rural white America about how horrifying things are in the Middle East and Afghanistan, about drone strikes in Yemen, drone strikes in Libya, drone strikes in Afghanistan, all because of these militants. They just happen to be driving down a Jeep in the middle of desert Tumbuk nowhere. Boom, drone strikes. We just get used to hearing that without ever questioning if that was a father.
Shoot that Jeep. He's got militanted windows.
So isn't it funny that when you look on YouTube at Rambo 3 clips, that scene is not on YouTube, nor is the movie in full on YouTube? See, there's reasons why certain clips get taken down. They wouldn't want anyone to associate, with a weak Afghani tribe or village that's just being bombed because they're born at the wrong time at the wrong place. People have asked me, Vincent, if I would ever go to Afghanistan. And you're talking to someone that is of Afghani blood. ancestry, but I do not speak Farsi. Pashto, I'm not even sure what tribe I'm from. I have learned everything about Afghanistan through the internet and through my own research. I have been disowned by both sides of the family because I was never pure blood on either side. And I will give, on my mother's side, they were better to me and they raised me to a certain degree. But ultimately, I raised myself. My parents did the best with what they had to work with. But ultimately, they came from two different cultures and their marriage failed the second I came out of the womb. So my dad was always the weekend dad. And what I see when I think back at my dad and our relationship before it collapsed, my dad became very Americanized. I never heard any anti-American type, like Delta Force, the movies with typical terrorists before 9/11 happened. I never met anybody like that in my life that was Afghani, ever. All I heard was about the importance of Islam and how there is a one true God and there are satanic elements in the West. All they were doing was expressing with their language, and they understood New World Order. There's evil over there in the West. We want to protect that from our culture. That's all that I remember hearing. And I find it very sad that despite the fact that my family tried to elevate themselves to being above Americans, I have seen Afghanis turn their back on me and worship this system, worship the Federal Reserve, worship all these things that they claimed when I was a child they were against. So they're concerned with the universities, with being somebody, Vincent, having a minivan and 2.5 kids and a picket fence, whether it be made of wood or made from plastic, made in China. They don't give a rat's behind. They're just glad that they're not in Afghanistan anymore and they're not getting bombed. So it's in their interest to never talk to somebody like Alex Ansari. Heaven forbid they ever get pulled out of their house and one of their women ever gets dishonored, because that is the primitive terror that lives in the Arab Persian heart, to the point where they will divorce their own family members because they choose to believe what the government and the media is telling the American people. So my father has become a translator for multinational corporations. The year I became a 9/11 truther, he became a translator overseas for them. Now that is the type of thing. People think they're in pain living in the New World Order. Try, and I'm not trying to play victim. I'm trying to just express what I've been through. Hold it together when you feel like you're a threat to your own family because of who you are, because of the modern things going on. People should go back and look at the film The Siege. Now, the only reason I keep doing what I'm doing, and as we'll get into in the second hour, I have a warning for this country, because I believe their plan is to invade this country with Chinese and Russian troops in 10 to 15 years. All I'm trying to do is just stop the invasions and stop all this. I don't see color at all. I see this dark, archonic spirit of evil that has taken control of some aspect of this earth and its political process. And I see people ignorant of that, of how one group is used to control the other group, and there is this sea of invasions that follow it. Call it karma. Because every country that's tried to take down Afghanistan in some way, shape, or form has gone through some type of collapse. Russia's not done yet. They still need to have their full-on collapse. Those guys are dangerous. I can go on, but I'm very concerned about the direction this country is going in. I'm concerned about the safety that the people are going to be in the future, and New Zealand and Australia and all these Western countries that have gone in a dark direction. I'm concerned about its sons. I'm concerned about its daughters. Because when you let evil like this run rampant throughout the planet, there are consequences to it. And although people are getting scared right now, we don't want you to get scared. We want you to help reverse what you can reverse. Because it's only because I have a faith in something, whether you call it God or a creator, I can feel that force working in my life. And I was deeply addicted to heroin before 9/11 and during around 9/11. We never got into that. It was when I got on the path to looking at these things that all of a sudden I didn't want to kill myself anymore. I wasn't ashamed of where my father was from anymore when I figured out what 9/11 was about. And this righteous fire started burning in me. Now, Alex Jones and David Icke may have kickstarted that fire, like yourself and so many others that have been inspired by others. Something changed in me around that time period where I started to believe in myself. And I started to walk on a different path. The second I did that, Vincent, my whole life changed. and everything that I needed was given to me, but oftentimes not what I wanted.
Yeah, yeah. I think Anthony Robbins said it best. He's a motivational speaker guy. You know, the guy with the hands like a bunch of bananas, and really big. He's even bigger than me. Like
I
I'm
love
6'4", and the man dwarfs me. You know, and he says that humanity's suffering from a crisis of faith. Paraphrasing here, not in God, not in their leaders, but a crisis of faith in themselves. And he thinks that that's the real reason why people aren't fulfilling their potential, is because they're afraid. All right, and I think that's actually the opposite of fear. Isn't courage? It isn't bravery.
Right.
It's faith.
Well, you address on your show a lot people that just attack people blatantly. I made a video once on YouTube, people that attack other researchers just for sport, just for fun. And a lot of that comes from, the reason that why I have such an issue with what David Icke said 15 years ago about being Jesus. And they have such an issue about some of these people, they can't take the good stuff and leave the rest because they're looking for a leader. They may not have come to that self-honesty yet that they're really looking for daddy. They're really looking for a male role model in their life to fill that void that they feel in their heart, even if they haven't come to admit that. But that's where that stems from. Once they're no longer looking for a leader and they find faith in themselves and they develop discernment, they take what they want and leave the rest. And this is fundamental to that which we call a spiritual experience.
Now, if we were in some way, shape or form becoming who we really were meant to be, if we're becoming who we want to be, I was just thinking about this. Randomly yesterday I was going down to have lunch at the little organic cafe that we've got, and they're run by really nice people, and every time I go down there I wound up having a really good conversation with somebody there, just randomly. And this week for some reason they're closed, and so I was like, okay, well there's nowhere else that's organic that I can eat there. So I go down to this nice little Indian shop, and I noticed that there's an elderly woman there who I recognise from the organic shop. And I go up to her, excuse me, did you have the same idea that I did? Did you come here because the organic shop was closed? You go, yes, I did. And so I was like, do you mind if I sit with you? And she's like, yes. And we sit down and we have lunch together and we have an amazing conversation. And we talk about how society's degraded to such a point since she was a little girl up until this point now. And we both agreed that the reason why everything's deteriorated, why culture has become so vapid and empty and vacuous, and why morality and culture itself has become so demonstrably scumbaggery-ish, is because there's really no family unit anymore. There's no strong female-male role models. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's now hour number 2, and I just wanted to play this little quick 45-second clip from Rambo. It's got one curse word in it, but I don't think we'll be taken off the air because of it. All right, yeah, here we go. Let me see if I can get this working. Yeah.
This is Afghanistan. Alexander the Great tried to conquer this country. Then Genghis Khan, then the British. Now Russia. But Afghan people fight hard. They never be defeated. Ancient enemy, make prayer about these people. You wish to hear?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. It says, may God deliver us from the venom of the cobra, teeth of the tiger, and the vengeance of the Afghan. You understand what this means?
That you guys don't take any shit?
Yes. Something like this.
All right, there you go. I watched that movie. Like, I'm a bit of a movie buff myself. Oh, excuse me, level's a bit high there. I'm a bit of a movie buff myself, so whenever I'm watching movies, Alex, I'll always, just go through and record good quotes or take screenshots of all-seeing eyes, Masonic floors, things of that nature. And it's surprising just how much stuff there really is for conspiracy theorists to draw material from. Just in normal, average, everyday, mainstream movies. And I thought Rambo 3, yeah, we were talking about it the other segment. It was one of those films that just kind of was like, whoa, like seeing it today as opposed to back in 1991 when it was made was kind of like a wake-up call to a degree, you know what I'm saying?
1987, but what's interesting is that in 1989, the Russians officially withdrew from Afghanistan. I want to touch upon this